Welcome to Veterans Connected, where maintenance and reliability expert and military veteran Eric Bevavino connects with fellow veterans in industry during each episode, where they exchange their experiences and discuss the transition from the military to industry and the paths and resources that led them to where they are today. The Veterans Connected podcast is proudly produced by the industry's leading network and learning community, Mobius Connect. Eric, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bevavino, host of the Mobius Connect podcast, focused on connecting military veterans to the maintenance and reliability community. Our aim here is to bridge the understanding gap between the military and civilian worlds, thereby improving the veteran transition journey and ultimately providing hope and a helping hand to any of our brothers and sisters out there struggling to find their way. We'll do this by interviewing veterans who have successfully made it through. For this session, we've chosen to interview one such Air Force veteran, Mr. Dallas Kratzer, whose fascinating and patriotic story is a must listen for anyone interested in joining us on this mission. Welcome, Dallas. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Right. Thanks, Eric. Fantastic. I'm not sure I can live up to that dubious title that you just gave me, so I'll try.
I think so. Having spoken with Dallas, we're talking about about 7 months ago.
Right.
We first met in a Panera here in Lexington, Kentucky, on a mutual friend referral to get together for veteran causes. I can attest you have a very interesting and patriotic story, so that's for sure.
I would agree with that. Yes. I'm an old guy, so I've got plenty of stories and spent a great time in the Air Force. And the highlight of my Air Force career was deploying with the Army and trained with them for a year, and then did about 9 months in country with them. So it's a great thing. And I get to work with veterans all the time now. And I love it. I'm really passionate about that and helping them in that transition because they need it. There's not a lot of help out here that is helping the right way.
Well, that exactly a great segue to, I think, when we spoke before, and what I guess what I'm finding through additional conversations in my own experience and your experience too, that the transition journey mostly from active duty, or you were in country, was that Afghanistan or Iraq?
Yes, it was Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Okay. So combat zone, all that good type of stuff. And you're coming back, you're trying to get into a sort of normal routine in the civilian world.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be a lot of things. There are a lot of people who want to try to help, but it's all over the place. And the service doesn't. The services try to guide folks in the right direction or a direction.
Right.
But it's tough, right? It's tough. So really what I'm hoping is through these podcasts, we get bits and pieces, maybe a nugget or two out of each one or three, that when folks listening and they're making the transition journey, they can say, oh, okay, well,
right.
Dallas said this or Dennis said that, and, I'm going to try that. And, these are really tidbits of wisdom, not a check sheet that you get on getting out of the service.
And that's a big key to it is you need to talk to other folks. Find folks that have gone through the transition recently themselves and say, hey, what worked for you? What didn't work? What have you heard from other folks? And you put all those pieces together and it comes out that you can journey pretty well through it. You can survive this, you'll get on the other side of it. It's just like any deployment, really. So approach it that way.
Well, that's really good advice. I mean, in the service, just in my reserve background and in my active duty background, a lot of moves. Every couple of years, you're doing something different. You're meeting new people and transitioning. You're adjusting to new environments. Just because it's a civilian environment, not a military or government environment, doesn't make it any different. Right.
The biggest challenge is the culture, getting used to that new culture. The civilian sector, they do things differently in work. We as military folks, no matter what branch you've been in, we have our uniqueness as service members, the way we stand, the way we talk, the way we operate. We're like, okay, we have a mission. We're going to go do this. And, it's pretty straightforward. And the civilians are like, whoa, slow down. We have a different way of doing this. And sometimes they're a little put off by some of the ways that we articulate what we do and where we're going to go and how we're going to do it.
Without a doubt, I think collaboration, cross-functional collaboration is probably the buzzword or the key word in corporate America today. It's not that it's not there in the military, it's there, but when you come together in a planning meeting, the decision to do whatever you're going to do is probably pretty well made. It's just like, how are we going to do it? How are we going to get together? I mean, maybe there's some debate whether or not we should do it, but it seems like, to me at least, in the civilian world, you're always sort of fighting for resources or perhaps people's time, right? Because everybody's busy, and really have to justify what you'd like to do versus really coming together and saying, hey, it's already put together for us. And that, for me, it was a learning experience. So perhaps for you as well. But
Sure.
why don't we start out, Dallas, with what you're doing today? And like, where have you found yourself today, and what sort of good are you doing for the world in Kentucky?
Well, yeah, here in Kentucky, we've got a very interesting program going on that we're trying to build out. We're calling it Task Force Welcome. And Task Force Welcome is workforce and education, leveraging community opportunities for military employment. So how you like that acronym? Being an Air Force guy,
I love it.
A good acronym. And
impressive that you could recount each letter in there. Yeah, 6 letters, right?
Right.
Or 7, maybe 7. Oh, I can't even count anymore. Yeah,
got 7 of them. And so there have been several of us that are working on this. I do a lot of work with the Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs. I'm also a senior fellow at the Council on Post-Secondary Education. So we're integrating both the military and the education stuff together. And we have built Task Force Welcome to be an opportunity in Kentucky for our Secretary of Labor and Education to develop a way to engage service members to attract them to Kentucky as they're coming out of the military. And I've shared this with a lot of different states already and getting good traction on it. We're just looking for it to happen. And it's really a benchmark off of what Virginia is already doing. So I'm going to throw out a little shout out to V3, which is Virginia Values Veterans. We're not exactly doing what they have done, but they are wonderful in the way they help service members transition out of active duty into the civilian workforce through using a program called SkillBridge or CSP. And that's what we're doing also. So for the service members, as they're going into TAP, that last year of their military career, they get introduced to SkillBridge, but I think a lot of them underutilize it. Because what SkillBridge does, it allows a service member in the last 6 months of their active duty to do an internship with a business that may be matched up to their career goals. And then that will allow them to see, hey, is this what I want to do or not? And during that internship, they're still on active duty, still getting their medical health care. It's like it is a permissive TDY. All right. And just they can go there and work. They have to provide their own housing. But it allows them to spend some time with the company and see if this is a good match for them. It's also a good match for the business because they get a chance to see how you integrate into what they're doing. Now, most of the businesses, 60% of them have done these before. So they know what they need to share with the service member. And they are getting a little bit of work out of the service member, but it's more exposure to the career field. And then once they've had that chance, if it's a good match, once they ETS, there's a good chance they'll get picked up. About 70 to 80% of them get hired by the company that they've done their internship with. And I want to share a couple of those companies that we've got doing it here in Kentucky.
Yeah, please do. Yep.
Yeah, before we don't jump all the way into that, our Task Force Welcome is designed to have a leader, of course, but then we're going to have someone who's going to engage our service members. And then we're going to have somebody that engages our businesses because our service members need to learn how to use SkillBridge and CSP. CSP is the Army's version of SkillBridge. It's career skills program. It allows the same thing 6 months prior to. You can do it anywhere from the world. You can jump on the website, start connecting with those businesses. But businesses need to learn how to build their SkillBridge profile, how to do the MOA with the Department of Defense, and then get on the website and Once they get accepted through the SkillBridge program, they will be on the DoD SkillBridge website, and that will allow service members to start looking in advance. And then they connect it to their webpage, the employer does. And we're finding here in Kentucky great success. They're like, wow, how we didn't know this even existed. So it's having that office at the state level, and we're going to do this for free. SkillBridge was set up to be for free. And there are a lot of people who are doing some of the SkillBridge CSP stuff, but there's a back-end cost to the employer that we don't always see, okay? And you have to get paid for it. But if the state of Kentucky will pay for it out of hide, it will bring back to them some pretty significant return on investment. For example, the median income in Kentucky is about $52,000. With our service members coming out, we're telling employers that you're going to have to look between $20 and $25 an hour to be competitive to bring these service members in. And what we're finding out is they're really providing a much better hourly wage than that for our service members, because they're realizing great soft skills, great technical skills, already where they want them to be. All they have to do is teach them what their company needs done, and they're off to the races, okay? It's a great program. Plus, the federal government, not only through the DoD having the SkillBridge, the Department of Labor, DOL, allows companies to use workforce board money to help displaced workers find new jobs. All right. Well, if you're coming off of active duty, you're a displaced worker, and we can use those funds through our local veteran employment resources or recruiters, which are Levers, which is a DOL program, or DVOPS. And that company that hires a service member that's transitioning off of active duty and coming back to Kentucky, or deciding to come to Kentucky, that company can get a tax credit of up to $9,000 per hire. Okay, so it's a great opportunity. It's an untapped resource. But wait, there's more.
There's more. I knew it was coming.
Yep. We are building a SkillBridge Lite for military dependents and spouses, particularly, where we're going to use that DOL money to pay for them to do an internship with a business as they're coming back to Kentucky, so that that business gets a chance to take a look at them and go, yeah, you're a good match for us. We'll hire you. And then they go on the payroll. So we're maximizing everything that we can to serve that transitioning service member coming back to Kentucky and his or her family. Okay. So it's just a complete package. We've got a whole diagram on it and how it all works.
Oh, I bet you have to, right? I mean,
yeah.
think about as a veteran and their family coming out of the service with zero knowledge of any of this, or maybe they've heard a little bit about it. Dallas, it sounds like you and your team are knitting together these components: Department of Labor, Department of Defense. I mean, the Army version of SkillBridge. I didn't even know there was such a thing. I had heard of SkillBridge before, but I didn't know there were different service offerings. And then making sure that the employers are aware of their tax benefits as a selling point, but as a stress alleviation type of, or let's call it budgetary alleviation factor or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the diagram would be awfully important, right? Because knowing what fits. Yeah.
Yep. And we did a white paper on it, on here's what it's going to take to build this out, what kind of return on investment that you're going to have as a state and as an employer. Let me give you an example. All right. So first I want to tell you what we've done it with career fields. And then I want to give you some real life stories of people who have been doing this. So we started with our police. In Kentucky, you have to go to the police academy to be a sworn officer. So with the Frankfort Police Department, we did a pilot test where we had a service member who was a canine handler in the Army. And we worked out with the police department that they did a complete interview on him almost a year, 8 months before he came off of active duty. They liked what they saw. They got him all pre-qualified. Now in Kentucky, we've built this program called M2LE, Military to Law Enforcement. And anyone, you don't even have to be a MP or an SP or anything like that. I was trying to remember what the Marine Corps calls them. It's a little different name, but you can go in to this program, and now if the police department pre-qualifies you, you can go to the Kentucky Police Academy while you're on SkillBridge, which is 5 months long. Once you graduate from that, you will be a sworn officer in Kentucky, and you immediately go to work for that police department that hired you. We have over 24 police departments that are either signed up or in the process of signing up. So if you go out on SkillBridge right now, you'll see them. And some of those police officers, brand new police officers, are starting at $72,000 a year as a police officer up in Covington, up by Cincinnati area. Now we do have some places that are way at the bottom, but that's okay. Here's the thing that goes on. When service members are getting ready to transition out, they fall into one of three buckets. All right. And every year, 200,000 service members leave the military, and they go either they stay where they are. That's the first bucket. They go home because that's what they know and where they want to be, or they're not sure. So if they're coming home and they're going back to their neighborhood, the police department might be a viable option for them there. The military skills that they've learned really translates to that civilian police force. Okay. So that gets them employed there. Or the other thing that we've done is we have leveraged our fire departments. There's a huge need for EMTs across the country. So now if service members are combat medics, corpsmen, med techs in the Air Force, whatever it may be, they can roll into an EMT position because they have a nationally registered license as an EMT if they've gone off to METC. They do the ride along, get civilianized, and as they come off of active duty, they roll right into an EMT program. But we want to add a little bit more to that. So we are partnering with our schools, our community college here, because as an EMT, it's not a license, or it's not a degree, it's a certificate. We want them to get the paramedic license, and that's an associate degree. Or better yet, they can roll into a RN program by using that EMT workplace learning, their military credit that they've earned through the American Council on Education, to complete an associate degree and become an RN. So they can be an EMT in a hospital or in a fire department and move up from there. Some want to stay in the fire department. So then they would cross-train into firefighter, which bumps the pay again. All right. So another opportunity there. The Hopkinsville Fire Department, if somebody's really interested in doing this, get hold of the Hopkinsville Fire Department. They're doing it right now, and we're growing the capacity across the rest of the Commonwealth. But wait, there's more, okay? And that is aircraft maintenance. This is our world, maintenance stuff, all right? People
gotcha.
Working hard, doing stuff, either aircraft maintenance, diesel mechanics, whatever the case may be. And we shouldn't dismiss the vehicle maintenance things that go on police departments, because they can use SkillBridge to get into those jobs or as dispatchers. But in aircraft maintenance, we just had a young man from Minot, North Dakota, Air Force guy, wanting to come home to Kentucky. We got him set up with Atlas Air at Cincinnati Airport, which is in Kentucky. If most people don't know that. Okay. It's about 30 minutes.
On this side of the Ohio River, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. The good side. And they brought that young man in on a SkillBridge for about 2 months, okay, because you can do a SkillBridge CSP up to 6 months. I recommend at least a month, but up to 6 months. So we got him set up with, I think it's Hilton Honors program. He got 100,000 Hilton Honors points so that he could get a hotel when he came down here to talk to them. Free. Hilton does that for free, okay? Any service member transitioning out can get those points for free.
Really?
Oh, it's better than that. Okay. But wait, there's more. The spouse.
I have some questions once you finish up this example.
Okay.
So you can take a breath. Yeah, go ahead.
They can get 100,000 points too if they're going for a job interview. All right. So there you go.
So this is a program that Hilton offers transitioning veterans, or really?
Yep.
Incredible. That's incredible. I mean, I've never heard that. I mean, this whole activity, state activity, templated state activity that can be transitioned or transferred or shared best practices with other states. I mean, great stuff here, Dallas. I'm so excited to hear it. You said things have happened since we spoke last, and you were telling the truth. So when you said 24 law enforcement branches or police offices, that's just in Kentucky, just in Kentucky. Okay, fantastic.
We're expecting the same thing with our EMT program. Atlas Air on our aircraft maintenance, they want to become the training hub for Atlas Air, bringing service members in here, get them trained up to the Atlas way, and then send them out all over the country.
I'm not familiar with Atlas Air. Is it a private jet service or something like that?
It is a major aircraft provider and cargo hauling, all that stuff. So it's another one of those airlines that people don't think about, but it's huge. And Amazon has a thing up there. So down in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, I've got a friend who's a Navy retired guy. He's in with Amazon. And we're talking about how Amazon might be able to take and create a regional hub for training military service members to be part of their operations. And that would then include aircraft maintenance operations on Amazon aircraft at CVG.
Very cool.
UPS,
very cool.
UPS, yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, guess what? There's a UPS guy that was on one of these podcasts not too long ago named Dennis Elford. I'll actually probably see Dennis in a couple of weeks at the Truck Maintenance Council show in Orlando.
Very good.
Yeah. So you have some potential friends willing to help there. I know that.
So I've got a chance to connect folks through the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board, the KWIB, because I co-chair the Veterans and Transitioning Service Members Subcommittee Working Group, and we want to continue to bring employers in and help them to see what we're doing to assist the transitioning service member and the employer at the same time. So we talked about fire departments, we talked about police departments, we talked about aircraft maintenance. But another one that we've just started on happened in Breckinridge County. We are now bringing transitioning service members into the high school environment. Kentucky's got a fantastic program that if you are a service member that's been in one of the skilled trades for at least 4 years, you can come and be a career and technical educator in Kentucky without a bachelor's degree. We'll put you in a new teacher institute that will, over the time that you're teaching, get you from no degree, some credit, to an associate degree, then to a bachelor's degree, which will take you up to a rank 1 instructor. And the pay ranges from anywhere from $40,000 coming in based on your qualifications up to $80,000. So just a lot of different things. And these are schools all over the Commonwealth that we're going to do that. That's just happening last week. And we had our first Air Force person go through it. He just finished 2 months ago, and that's why we're now ready to move forward with some Troops to Teachers is coming back. I don't know if you knew that, but it was an old program that would allow
makes sense. Totally makes sense. We need more teachers, right?
Yeah. And there are 25 states that are using it. We're going to bring Kentucky back online so that we can do this because we're already positioned to get folks into teaching positions. And really the pay is not bad because not only do they come in through SkillBridge or CSP, but they get to count their military time and it bumps them up and it's a pay. So yeah, great opportunity. And if they've already got their bachelor's degree, they're going to be starting that $50,000, $60,000 range. If they don't have their degree, we're going to get them through it quickly. We have a couple of the KCTCS system of schools, 16 community colleges that will help get them trained up and ready for that. And they can use their GI Bill to help defray the cost of housing allowance while they're in that training. Because again, we're going to do a DOL registered apprenticeship. And so here's the really cool thing. There's such a need for cybersecurity and IT professionals right now.
Oh, for sure. Without a doubt. Yep.
Right. So Coursera has partnered with Google IT, and the USO has a way for service members to take Google IT for free. Okay. Google IT will get you into a $40,000, $50,000 a year job right out of the chute. It's like taking fundamentals of IT. It can set you up to take the CompTIA A+ certification, which bumps you into the $50,000, $60,000 a year. At the University of Louisville, they're doing a program C4 where you can get some additional training and you can move into that $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. But we can take that Google IT, any service member that completes it, they can then become a IT instructor at a high school. And you're working in a different population that way. We piloted this project at Anderson County High School here in Kentucky. I've got a buddy that was an instructor. So these high schoolers are now getting taught that. But for the service member and for the high schooler, if you take that Google IT certification, it's 12 credit hours at your community college or your 4-year institution, which will knock out your first semester of college. So we partner that in with that. It's a beautiful thing, and off to the races we go.
Fantastic. My wife works here at UK Healthcare in the IT department, and she's a big fan of Coursera. She talks about it all the time. Continuous learning,
Right.
oftentimes at no cost for IT professionals. So that is phenomenal. So Dallas, do you have sort of counselors or mentors or guides, like trail guides for these folks when they come out to follow this wiring diagram, so they're hitting all the things? I mean, because like you said, this is sort of a patchwork of activity, right, to lead you to the best case. Is that something that you do, or that somebody you work with, or people on your team, or how does that work?
Okay, so I'm a team of one, sort of. Okay. This is an idea I've been socializing for the last 3 years in Kentucky, 4 years. I got out of the service, went through TAP in 2015. Okay. I saw, man, people are just being thrown to the wolves. And it was hard for them to figure out. So I started down this road. I've worked with our JVSG, which, if you ask me what that acronym is, I don't know. Okay. But it's a DOL grant that funds our DVOPs and levers. The levers are the local veteran employment representatives that can help them get into jobs. So we've trained them on all this stuff here in Kentucky, and we continue to train them. But we also have partners who are learning these gateways. And at Fort Campbell, for example, if someone wants to be an EMT, they call me directly and I try to plug them to a fire department. This is why we're building this office at the state level, trying to encourage the state to do this. I'm just a guy. I don't have I have some influence to help say, hey, look, we need to be looking at this, because in Kentucky, we have the VMAP, which is the Veteran, Military, and Public Peace Officer Council. Through the legislature. It's a joint committee for the legislature to talk about veteran and military things. And so they're starting to see this too. And they've been made aware of it. And so that we can build this office that can do that thing. But another part of this is the VA just recently partnered with an organization. And if you go on the VA website and you type in ETS-SP, and this is a mentoring program where, as service members are coming out, they can sign up for this free mentoring program, and they will connect them with someone in the area that they're wanting to go to. All right. The way we're going to capitalize on that is through my subcommittee that I co-chair. We want to help companies build veteran resource groups in their organization. So if you're going to go to Toyota, which we have the largest Toyota plant in the US here in Georgetown, Kentucky, then you'll have somebody at that veteran working group who can say, hey man, thanks. Great to have you here. I'm a vet. Let's talk. Let me help you do this transition. And bam, off to the races we go. UPS has that. Yum has that. So just making those connections and that networking. So that's how we're accomplishing the mission.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to get a list of these acronyms from you afterwards, so we can kind of put them in the show notes and take you to links, because you're like a treasure trove of information here with a lot of very cool things that people wouldn't necessarily know about. I mean, the mentoring program and tying that to employee service groups, ERGs.
Yep.
I know I work with Cummins on a fairly regular
Yeah.
basis. They have a very good one, and
Yep.
JB Hunt has a good one as well as
Right.
a lot of other people. So that makes sense. I mean, most veterans are willing to help another veteran.
Right.
Like no questions asked. Right? Oh, you need help?
Yep.
You were in the Army or Navy or whatever. Yeah, come over here. I'll give you a hand, because then that way you take advantage of a no cost or a low cost resource that's out there, potentially untapped, because people like me, we want to help, but like, is there any funnel coming
Right.
to me or to us, right? Like where does that fun, and we talk about the same thing with mental health, right? Where's the funnel for
Yeah.
people who are struggling with post-traumatic stress coming out? They either choose not to go to the VA, or they go to the VA. I mean, there are three options, right? They go to the VA, they get help. They go to the VA, they are in line, they can't get help,
Right.
or not soon anyway. And the third one is they just don't go there, choose not to.
Right.
I mean, there are organizations like 22-0 out there that help,
Sure.
relate without drugs and all that other type of stuff. So where's your like? Is it the tap classes from the local forts or naval bases or whatever it happened to be in the area? Do you get a list? Does somebody produce a list that gets thrown out there to the masses? So, I mean, that would make too much sense, right?
Too much sense. The government's not going to do it if it makes way too much sense, right? But there's a reason they don't do that. There's
yeah, for sure. I mean, just like the low or the high percentage financing right outside the gate, right?
Yeah.
Similar type thing, right? Yeah.
At the same time, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
At the same time, ETS-SP is going to help by connecting service members to those services to connect them to their states. And that's how we hope to grow this out, because they're starting to recognize, hey, we need to do that. The challenge is we have lots of stovepipes of people doing great things, but nobody's taking down those stovepipes or those barriers and saying, hey, we all need to work together. That's what we're doing here in Kentucky. And another thing that we do here in Kentucky is we've got a program called JECFO. And JECFO is the Joint Executive Council on Veteran Organizations. Every month they have a meeting. I think it's every month. And they bring all of the veteran service organizations, the American Legion, the Veterans Club of Kentucky, you just name it. And they're there to say, let's share notes so that we can make sure that we work together. The Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs is there. Hey, let us help your veterans. Because a lot of folks don't realize how big the veteran population is. Here in Kentucky, 287,000 veterans. You cross the bridge into Indiana, over 400,000 veterans. So there's quite a number out there. And you can get all these documents online. I've got them all if you want them, that will share and tell you exactly, what type of benefits they're bringing in, how many are in your neighborhood and your community. The surveys that they did, the 2020 census provides that, but it's knowing how to look at that data and then articulate it to your legislators for them to realize, hey, we need to work here, because if we get service members coming back here, they bring skills and employment, lots of opportunity. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do here in Kentucky. Doing some similar work in Indiana, and they're doing some cool stuff up there. Ivy Tech Community College is leading the charge through their workforce board. I mean, if you need employees in Kentucky, 2,000 service members come back every year. And that's not even counting their dependents that come back that might want to be employed or go to school. And I am under the Council on Post-Secondary Education, under CPE. I'm working a project to help all of our schools to better understand the military joint service transcript so that we can accelerate their degree completion, educating our workforce and making us a bigger player on the workforce board for drawing people to Kentucky, because we're going to have some great employers coming in to build amazing things.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about in last July, August timeframe of last
Right.
year, this joint trend. And I mean, what a great service, right? What a great offering. I
Yep.
mean, number one, you have to translate all the acronyms that you knew and were using in the military. You got to tone down, all the adult language that you learned in
Right.
the military
Yeah.
a little bit, but
Yeah.
also you got to
Navy
be
guys are
able.
really good about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a joke about that the other day. I can't remember. Maybe I will by the time the end of the podcast. But in any case, yeah. So, but you also need this translate. It's like a translation service. Like,
Yep.
what skills apply? I mean, leadership should be common, though,
It is.
definitions of leadership may differ a little bit from person to person, but maintenance, operation, mission accomplishment, training, providing training classes,
Right.
leading small teams of people in mission accomplishment. I mean, we're finding through this podcast, which perhaps other people don't know, but if they don't, that operations and maintenance are the two biggest
Huge.
areas that military members, regardless of service, have sort of a consistently high level of understanding and ability, right? Because what
Right.
do? You got to get your equipment up to speed before you go out. If it fails on you, you're in trouble. And then operations is really how do we plan and go execute and after action on the mission, right? So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and that
so
goes into project management. That's what you do in the military, project
right.
management. No matter what level, you are involved with that. And there is such a huge need for that out in the civilian sector. So lots of opportunity. And there's this program called COOL, which is Credentials Online for
We can
credentials.
look it up.
Yeah, look it up. But it allows service members to get the credentials that they don't get in the military, but would have gotten in the civilian sector before they leave the military. Because going back,
Ah,
going back to the IT world in the military, we don't care about getting a Google IT certificate or A plus certification because we're just going to train you on it. And then they come out of the military and they don't have it, but they know how to do it. Well, this way they can get that certificate before they leave the military and go to employers, because in the military it's about the mission. We don't care about plaques and awards and certificates of accomplishment. Okay, we worry about get the mission done. All right, in the civilian sector, certificates and certifications get you jobs. Okay, it's not what you've done necessarily, but what are you certified to do? Aircraft maintenance, if you get your FAA A&P license, which is 27 credit hours at a community college, you will be able to get a job anywhere. They're just dying for aircraft maintenance folks. So, and that
yeah,
can be helicopters, and that can be fixed rotary wing, any number of things. And a lot of the vehicle mechanics can qualify for that, and they'll pay them to get any additional training. You brought up just a minute ago about the mental health and wellness and all that stuff. When we help service members in their transition to civilian employment, that is a mental health success story because it takes away all that angst for them of what am I going to do when I get out, and for their dependents, how are we going to put food on the table? This is a mental wellness thing when we do this. And that's another part of why we're doing it. So
yeah, survival, right?
yeah,
Survival. Like, oh, holy smokes, I'm out of this program, steady paycheck, all this support around me. Now I'm
yeah,
sort of cast adrift. What am I going to do? I have people that rely on me and I'm responsible for. A lot of
right.
stress, and
Yep,
not necessarily stress that can be alleviated by alcohol or just working yourself out to death, right? Because some
right.
people find different ways to alleviate stress. But yeah, this is really great, Dallas. So Army Cool, I see online. It's cool, like you think Fonzie cool dot
Yeah,
OSD dot mil, and it is credentialing opportunities online.
that's it.
Yeah, I'm looking at, it's a 4-step process, I think, where you start putting in your information, but it made me think of how recruiting is being done today in
Right.
large part, right? It's most of it, a lot of it is being done online, right? So you put a resume online. If it doesn't have the right sort of vocabulary on that resume, then these AI scrapers are not going to pick up the important
Right.
stuff that the civilian employers say we're looking for, right? And looking for leadership. If it's not in there, it's not going to pick it up. Or if I'm looking for, let's say, for example, let's use a Navy example. Well, I was a hard hat diver in the Navy, and I
Yep.
was skilled in salvage. Well, only a small need for that in the civilian world. But if I could say I was responsible for mission planning,
Yep.
project management,
Yep.
and accomplishment, cross-functional execution, that type of thing, then bang, it's a match. Bang, it's a match. And then that can spit out the resume to the prospective employer, because there's so many
Yep.
things that go into this. Not only are we not always having humans look at resumes anymore, because we just aren't, right? We're in
Right.
the age where that's not always happening, but that translation is not, it's going to be less obvious to AI
Yep.
likely than that. I mean, you get lucky if you went to a company that has a few veterans that are helping screen resumes to do that translation. That's not
Sure.
always the case. So maybe you get lucky in that, but yeah, phenomenal stuff. So really,
Can I give you two more things?
yeah, go ahead, buddy. It's your
Okay.
show, man.
That's
It's
your
all good.
show, but I got lots of stuff kicking around and
It's our show.
hat rack that I carry around. Okay, two things. Our service members need to get LinkedIn. All right. LinkedIn is the new resume for business. It's the Facebook version of business. LinkedIn is. Service members get 1 year of premium LinkedIn for free. Okay. It's $24 a month, $25 a month. Normally, you get that for free. You get your resume out there. I'm on it all the time. Feel free to look me up, Dallas.Kratzer, LinkedIn. So that's a great thing. But another thing too, and I recommend this to our employers, there's a program out there called Psych Armor. I think we might have talked about it, but I'm not sure. Psych Armor is a nonprofit started by a Marine Corps spouse. Her husband was in the Marine Corps, got out, retired. She started this, and the whole mission of Psych Armor is to help educators and employers to understand the military culture. And they have this one free video vignette that says 15 things that military people want you to know. And it's a great, just 15 minutes of, hey, these are things to think about. Okay. It really resonates. Military folks are like, yeah, spot on. They started off, they thought it would be 4 things, and then they got all these interviews, and it became such a big event that now it's great. They do a lot. I did a podcast for them a while back on recognizing learning in military and corporate settings, and I think it's a great podcast, but I'm a little biased maybe. But yeah, so there's all these things that we can connect with out there to serve our service members. What you're doing here, invaluable. What we can share and help with one another. We're all going to reach different groups of people. We need to do that. And we need to think with the abundance mentality. There's more than enough work for all of us. So let's get out there and get to it. All right. You were getting ready to say something. So
without a doubt. So I think I've got the right one. Psych Armor. Yeah, we are on a mission to train a grateful nation, access more than 250 military culture educational products for healthcare providers, veterans, employers, military families. So that is psycharmor.org for anybody who's looking at it. This is great, Dallas. Thank you so much for being prepared and having these notes. I can see that you referred to a lot of it's in your hat rack too.
It is. This is my stump that I preach from. Okay, one last one for you. I know I said
you're good, man.
I've always got more. College Recon, they're cool. So College Recon, what they do, is they go out and they're looking for colleges that are accepting the military credit recommendations from the American Council on Education that comes on our JST to say, hey, these are the schools that are doing it right. If you're in this area and you want to go to school, go check these people out. So College Recon, another great resource. And they're steering away from the predatory schools. They don't have, and this is why I support them, is there are a lot of predatory schools out there that'll take your money and you get a degree that's not worth the paper it's written on. College Recon is pre-qualifying that. They have about 100,000 service members that hit their site every month for something. So they're doing some great work. So there you go.
Yeah, easy website to remember as well. College Recon, just like it sounds.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, all this information is a treasure trove, and you and I need to put it together in a book somewhere. Maybe I'll just be your note taker or your scribe, and we yeah, we can put it together in a one-stop shop sort of program and get it out there. Because I mean, there are just so many things that veterans can take advantage of. It's just, and that's a blessing and a curse, right? It's all out there, and centralized guidance.
And this is just one thing I'm doing right now. I would love to talk to you about all the other things, but we are coming up on time. So maybe we'll do another one of these, if you think it's worth it.
No, that sounds good. Yeah. And with respect to your time too, it's 5:37. We could go for a little bit more for sure. But I didn't get to ask you like what you actually did in the military and all the sort of cool things. So we have a few minutes left. So why don't we go through that and then we'll wrap it up.
So I was a mutt. Okay. I did a lot of different things. Strangely, when I was in high school, I didn't know anything about the military, didn't think about it. A buddy of mine's like, hey man, I'm going to go check out the Guard. You want to ride along? This is in the 70s. I graduated in 80. And I'm like, okay, sure. I didn't know what that meant. And I went, the Guard was the Air National Guard in Ohio. And I ended up joining. I raised my right hand, said some words. There was a flag. Next thing I know, I'm in basic training and I found my place and it was off to the races. I was an admin guy, so Radar O'Reilly, I had to learn how to type and all this stuff. Became a personnel guy, did enlisted time. I was an E7 whenever I got my commission, working in personnel. Became an executive officer, ground transportation officer, aircraft maintenance officer, anti-terrorism officer, ROTC instructor, and finished up back in personnel. I was a personnel guy when I retired out of the Kentucky Air National Guard in Frankfurt. And 35 years later, it was a great adventure. And like I said earlier, the highlight of my Air Force career, the 35 years, was at age 50, going on a deployment with the Kentucky Army National Guard, where we went in country. I had to train with the Army for a year to learn Army, and then spent 9 months in country with them. We were supposed to be there for 11 months. But during that 9 months, I helped them to learn Air Force. And it was a great adventure, great friendships built out of that. We had a very successful mission in Afghanistan. We walked away knowing that we'd made a difference. So that was fantastic. We did a ag development team where we were helping Afghan farmers to be better at their Afghan farming business. And we implemented a FFA program, Future Farmers of Afghanistan, in one of the high schools. Yeah, it was awesome, And we made, the team before us made some patches for this program. They kind of started laying the groundwork. We got the school district in the Kandahar region where we were to do this in their school system. And we hope that it has carried on. That was in 2012 and 13. And a lot's gone on over there, but the schoolmaster in that district bought into it wholesale.
Well, it's a great example. And thank you for being out there trying to teach Afghan farmers to grow something other than poppy, I hope, or something.
Yeah, that'll never change.
Well, everybody needs morphine, I guess, too. But yeah, it's just it's such a great example of sort of a non-traditional or not something people wouldn't expect. Like say, hey, I was in the service. Well, what'd you do in the service? Well, I was on a ship, or I was in a regiment or battalion or whatever. Well, no, I was in Afghanistan. You were in Afghanistan
Right.
teaching Afghanistan farmers how to be better at what they were doing. So
Right.
really, really cool. Well, Dallas, I really appreciate you spending time with us today. It has been an action-packed, content-rich 45 or 50 minutes.
Okay. Excellent.
So yeah, so we'll probably follow up with perhaps some links. I took a bunch of notes, but I'm sure I didn't catch everything. But this is fantastic. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. And you said you're on LinkedIn if
Yes.
people wanted to contact you.
Sure. Sure.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
And okay, well, thank you, Dallas. And before we close, I'd like to remind our listeners to give us a 5-star rating so we get up in the podcast rankings as one of the veteran liked podcasts. So we're aspiring to be on that list someday. So that'd be great. And we also want to thank Mobius for providing this platform to help both transitioning vets as well as those looking to hire them in the field of maintenance and reliability. So thank you again, Dallas, and have
Thank
a
you,
great
Eric.
night.
Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. Bye.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Veterans Connected. We will see you back for another episode very soon. In between, we hope to see you in the Veterans Connected community group where you can meet Eric and fellow podcast guests and share with other industry veterans at mobiusconnect.com. And we hope to see you there.